Hello, everyone. We're at the Sci-Mic stage. There's also a poster session over there. Maybe look at some posters. Come over here, listen to us. We're going to be talking about science all day. I'm Regina Barber. I'm usually at NPR, but today I'm at AAAS, and I'm talking to Whurley. And Whurley is a combination of names, correct? And it's, yeah. Oh, is it on?
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
Oh, maybe you do.
We got it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So Whurley, you were actually over there signing your books, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But you're here today, and what are you most excited about with the conference? Before we talk about your book.
So I'm excited about everything for the conference because I have dedicated, kind of my career, and especially this stage of my career and what we're doing at Strangeworks, to trying to accelerate scientific discovery and make advances. So I can't think of a better place to be than an association focused on the advancement of science in all areas of life. And so I've had policy discussions, I've had technical discussions, I have somebody, we may do a white paper together. There's just been an amazing amount of interaction and opportunity here, and I've loved it. And of course, I've given a couple talks and did the book signing, so it's been a lot of fun. And I have only been here for a day, so it's been very packed.
Have you ever been to a AAAS conference before?
This is my first one.
Okay, so you said your whole career. Tell us a little bit about your career before we go into the book. And you said you just want to kind of push science forward. Did you go to the address on the first night?
I was supposed to, but my plane was delayed.
Okay.
So I landed as it ended, unfortunately.
Oh, no, that's okay. Our president
Kevin and I have been talking about that, and so we've had many discussions around it, and that's part of why he invited me here, was we both feel very passionate about that direction and pushing that as the agenda, not just for the organization, but pushing out to get scientists everywhere involved and kind of broadening the reach, and even getting into younger people that are just now coming into science, so that they kind of start with this science without walls, kind of open science concept from the get-go.
So when was the first time in your career that you see like the benefits of interdisciplinary, breaking down walls of like elite membership, all that stuff? When was the first time that happened in your mind?
That has been almost my entire career, because I've never been doing anything I was classically trained to do or that maybe I should be doing. I've done it out of a passion and an interest. And so I had the benefit of really good mentors. And I would say that where I bonded when talking about coming here, we had this video chat, and I got so excited, was this is it. And I was very early in the open source movement in the software side, which of course, lots of people are trying to push that in science now. Tim Vines has a project and a company where what he's doing is taking research papers, because the paper gets published and what doesn't get published is the data.
Yes.
And so what
it depends, but yes.
Yeah, so what Tim Vines has done is built a software using AI methodology that goes in and tracks and kind of checks and makes sure the researchers are publishing that data. He's working on standardizations in the format. So things like that are super interesting to me, because it spreads the knowledge and it spreads the ability, honestly, how are you going to peer review something or really check it if you don't have access to the data? So it's just, I think these are all good things when you talk about science without walls that we really need in not just this community, but in broadening the interest in science outside of it. We were talking in my talk about citizen science here, and I really believe that with the advent of large language models and chat interfaces and GPTs and things, there is an opportunity to gather a lot more ideas and a lot more concepts from a much wider audience. Well, I made the point, and I think it may have been lost on a few people, because I showed the Will Smith eating spaghetti video from last year. I don't know if you've seen this video, but it's an AI.
I'm not cool.
It is an AI generated video, and it is horrifying. Like it is, you're just like, oh, he's got 8 fingers and all this.
Oh.
Well, day before yesterday, OpenAI released Sora. And Sora produces up to a minute of video that is indistinguishable from something that was shot on a camera. Like
That's
many of them, you have to go really deep in the detail and maybe be like, that one tiny thing in this 30 pixel range looked out of range. And the point I was trying to make about that is that's how far that's advanced in a year, all right? Those kind of advancements are going to happen. Well, what that is causing is this rise of the non-creative creative class. That is all the people who couldn't write code, but now they can just ask a computer to do it.
Yeah.
That's all the people that couldn't, do graphics and art, and now they can.
That's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing,
Yeah.
and I'd like to see that same kind of stuff come over into science. The example I gave in my talk was my 7-year-old wanted to play make a Roblox game, and I don't know
Yeah, I've
anything
seen
about
those
it.
games.
Yeah, right. I know you have. We both have kids, right? You're like, wait, give me my credit card back.
Yeah.
But he wanted to make this game, and what I thought, this is a great teaching moment for me to not teach him. And so what I did is I put OpenAI on his iPad, and I set up where he knows how to talk to it, because my kids are like all kids these days. They're like, hey Google, hey Siri, like what's
Yeah.
up, And so he talks to it like, I want to build a Roblox game, and it's like, oh, here's how Roblox games are made, and it's reading it to him. And he's like, right, I want to build one. It's like, okay, would you like to write code? And he's like, oh, and he's having this conversation.
Wow.
This conversational compute construct that is emerging now more than ever, that we've talked about forever. You've probably, because we're close in age, you've seen the classic Star Trek movie where they go back to save the whales.
Yes,
right?
the whale one is one of the best ones.
And Scotty goes to the plexiglass factory, and he goes, what if I could show you something that'd be 1 inch thick and do this? And he goes to the computer, and what does he say? He goes, hey computer. Hello computer. And he does it, and he goes, hands him the mouse, Bones hands him the mouse, and he holds the mouse up and he says,
He's like, hey computer.
hello computer, right? And the guy's like, just use the keyboard. I mean, these are concepts we've talked about, but think about the marriage of things like artificial intelligence and quantum computing and new versions of advanced computing and conversational compute, and think about what that is going to do in generating what I believe will be a kind of a second huge scientific revolution, where you have all these people all of a sudden interested in science because they have access and because they can do it, as opposed to what we see now, which is this anti-intellectual movement, partially because of a lack of knowledge or exposure.
Well, it's also because of how scientists interact with the community too. I wouldn't just all put it on the audience.
Yeah, that's true.
and like how we write our papers and all that kind of stuff.
I'm on a being nice to scientists mission.
Well, I'm a
I'm
scientist.
being nice to everybody. We got to bring them all together. But
that's
you're
what I mean.
right. You're right.
I think there is a detriment in saying that, like, it isn't also on us.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%.
But I do want to go to your slides, and you.
There's only one slide.
That's it.
We're just
good.
conversing.
Okay, good. So, you are interested in this kind of intersection of, like, commerce and technology and pushing things forward, and then you decide also to write this book, the Quantum Computing for Dummies. How did that start?
So when I started Strangeworks, what
is Strangeworks?
So Strangeworks is a advanced compute company focused on, effectively, our slogan is turn what if into what is, right? So it's all about scientific discovery and then taking those and actually applying them, and taking those applications, actually doing something with them out in the world.
So you're funding science research?
No, so we provide a compute infrastructure that has almost 140 quantum devices on it, all classical makes and models of devices, and then software packages that lower the barrier to entry to doing quantum computing and other advanced compute.
Okay.
So, the book started because for my whole career, I was doing 20 things everywhere. And then when I started Strangeworks, I was like, what if I did all of those things? Like, what if I wrote about something the company was doing instead of about something I was interested in? What if I did only my talks about the thing the company was doing? I kind of solidified all of my focus and effort on that. And early on, I met Chris Ferry, who's a brilliant physicist out of Australia, and he has written all of the babies books that I'm sure you've seen. Like,
yes, the physics for babies.
Right.
Yes.
And Chris and I were talking, and I jokingly said, hey, if you want to write quantum computing for babies, let me know.
Yeah.
And he wrote me back. He was like, hey, we should do that. And so I was lucky enough to be able to do that with him. And that book became kind of the marketing, which is like, here's a real simple form of this. Mm-hmm. And then there was a group of people who submitted it to an organization. I'm being nice, for peer review, because it had been peer reviewed.
Yeah, okay.
It's made of cardboard. I think it has like 42 words.
Okay, so, the babies one.
Yeah, the babies one.
Not the one you just signed.
And so the one I just signed yesterday originally came out because a friend of mine said, man, a lot of physicists don't like that babies book. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised at that. And he goes, you got to come up with a follow-on that just really just twists the knife. And I thought, haha, that's not funny. And then I was in an airport and I saw some Dummies books, and I thought, not about twisting the knife and here's another book you won't like, but in that's the right level of book to have as a science communication of this complex topic to a much wider audience, and the Dummy series has such a wide breadth. And so I called Wiley and I said, I'd love to do this, and they were great, and they researched the quantum computing market, and they're like, maybe not now. And we just checked in every couple of years, and then finally the market matured enough, and there was enough interest that it was time to proceed the book. And I failed at writing the book because getting it all simple and dummified was extremely hard. Wiley is an unbelievably good publisher. They send you like 2 months to just get familiar with the series and all these lessons and stuff. And there was a guy, Floyd Smith, who had written a bunch of Dummies books, who also wanted to write this book. And they said, Whurley, if you can't do it, maybe we got to get Floyd. I was like, I'll take a co-author immediately. So Floyd took everything I wrote, put it in the wonderful Dummies format, and broke it out. Because, it's not, I know that nobody likes me saying this, but it's not like a paragraph. It's not like writing a white paper. Like, here's my abstract or whatever. It's like ramble on, run on sentence, boom, call out, metric, graphic. It's the way, it's very complex.
Well, I actually gonna put you on the spot a little bit. And,
sure.
and can you give us a pitch of like, how would you explain what quantum computing is to like?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
do it,
100%.
Because, we only have so much time, and that's important.
So I have an example. I haven't tried it on a 10-year-old. I did do it in a middle school class, so pretty close.
Yeah, this is
And the
close.
thing is, think about this. So from your laptop to your phone to everything you use, it all works on transistors. So 1959, Jack Kilby invents the integrated circuit. Before that, you bought transistors one at a time, and we've advanced in our ability. And my iPhone
You
has...
should explain what a transistor is, actually.
Well, for brevity, because I think
all right.
think our audience knows.
I would not assume that.
But assume it's a gate like we put a signal through and it's a 1, and we don't put it through and it's a 0.
There we go.
But if
You did it.
If you had 4 of those, okay, you have 16 outcomes.
Yeah.
And you can be in any one of those outcomes at once. In quantum computing, and this is just explaining the benefit, and then I'll explain the tech. If you have 4 qubits, you still have the same 16 outcomes, but you can be in all 16 states at the same time. So this makes it infinitely powerful. Well, what are you doing when you're building a quantum computer? You're taking something like a salt atom, blowing it up, pulling an electron off, trapping it in an ion trap with lasers, or freezing it down cold as space so that you can manipulate it. And you think of it like a standard...
That's what you're doing. I literally know nothing about
So you think of a standard, you think of it like a block sphere. So straight up it's a 1, straight down to 0, but it can be oriented and manipulated on the X, Y, and Z axis, or you can do things like a Hadamard gate, right? Sorry, you got me going, and we went way outside of the 10-year-old.
Let's
Sorry,
go back.
10-year-old,
So
this wasn't for you.
Instead of 1s and 0s, you can have an option.
The output is still 1s and 0s, but in that state, right? So take Shor's algorithm, okay? It has 5 basic components. Is it an even or odd number? Is it a factor of 2 coprimes? You go through the 4th step is where the non-deterministic quantum magic happens. That's where a quantum computer can do something no classical computer is capable of. And when we say that,
What's that 4th step? Say that one more time.
say that. So you do. Is it an even or odd number? Is a factor of 2 coprimes? You pick a number to use in your calculation. Then there's the non-determinate quantum magic, which is X mod R, and then
I don't know what that is.
And
You
then
really have to-
I know it's not Virginia. And then you go back and you run it. Effectively, it's building a matrices and looking at what are the possible combinations of numbers to factor an encryption key. Okay? So that's something that would take a classical computer or a supercomputer millions of years to do. And the reason that is quantum computers are powerful not just because of the physics of superposition and entanglement when we entangle these qubits to operate on them, but more importantly, if I add from those 4 bits a 5th bit, I have 25 outcomes. It's nice. But if I have 4 qubits and I add a qubit, I have 2 to the n the number of bits, right? So these things scale in multiple dimensions as far as the power. And if you read the book...
I think a middle schooler would get that.
I don't think they would either. I'm trying. If they read the book, my funniest moment was my wife read the book. She read part of the first chapter, and she was like, I don't get it. But because it's really hard. But you have to think about this. It's the next evolution of computing. We're computing on nature, right?
Well,
so the advantages are tremendous. You've got a caffeine molecule. You've got coffee or tea right there. And you wanted to do a digital twin of that, it would take an insane amount of memory. But you would only need the number of qubits, 1 qubit per molecule, to do it on a quantum computer. So about 160 qubits.
So as you're
do that.
transferring information in the qubits, it contains way more information than what you had before.
So is a bit, you're able through entanglement to put all of those possibilities, think of it like a giant probability machine, at once, and then render out what is the most likely possibility, which means not all answers are correct, and sometimes you have to go and rerun those experiments and rerun those answers.
But that doesn't take as much time as you would if you were just going with the older computer.
Yes, but this is where there's the Achilles heel of quantum that nobody wants to talk about.
Okay, yeah, I do want to hear that.
Which is, we are the truth sayers of quantum, and the problem is that the machines aren't very useful now based on the scale. So while you may have thousands of qubits, they're high noise systems, what we call the NISQ era of quantum computing, so they're noisy intermediate systems. The fidelity is not so great, but most importantly, the decoherence times, except for the cold atoms, which are now getting into the 30,
decoherence
40,
times, going back and checking.
The time from when I suspend those particles to when they decohere and there's no computer, right? So it's not like a regular computer.
Okay.
And so because of that, the circuit times, which is how you program a quantum computer, could be longer than the time the computer is actually available.
I see.
So
they're not actually better yet.
They're not actually better yet.
Okay.
You've proven they're better at some things with like 40 qubits for like quantum machine learning and things like that.
Yeah.
But what we really want is a general purpose quantum computer. And that's going to require millions of error-corrected qubits to really be the thing that we all, the holy grail. And so...
And once you said probability, I was like, the probability does not mean truth, or does not mean the answer.
Yes. This is the first step away from von Neumann architectures in the history of computing. So, I like to tell people keep trying to apply them to problems of today. How could it do portfolio optimization? What about doing chemistry, right? All of these things. And yes, you could be trying that, and that sounds awesome, but these machines aren't for the problems of today. They're for the opportunities of tomorrow. These are machines most likely not for us, but for our children and their children's children, that this will be their compute. You have to, right? I mean, there had to be for computers, there had to be, Kilby making the integrated circuit, there had to be the homebrew compute club and the IBM 360, all of these different things had to happen. It's the same thing, but the process is happening much faster. Right,
and I'm gonna end on a quote of yours, and you said the space race in technology isn't like AI, and it isn't, I don't remember the other option, but you said it is quantum computing.
Absolutely.
Because you said you were having them stuff that worked, and I was like, really? You have it working? But I see what you mean. It's just not optimal yet.
Yeah, because to do things at scale, you'll need far more qubits than we have, and we have these problems with adding a qubit simple. But adding a qubit creates a lot of noise in the system. We don't have error correction. You know how error correction works in a computer. We need that. To do that, we have to scale a lot of qubits so we can have enough qubits to do that error checking.
And we did run out of time, but I'm going to ask you how to fix that off camera.
Sure.
But thank you so much, Whurley, for talking to me today. And I will try to read your first chapter and maybe get it.
I think you'll be able to get a lot more in the first chapter.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.